up dive. Feel the vibe, get ready to ignite. Untold stories in the airways, flying through the night. Experience voices, tales so bold. Streaming live, the truth unfolds. Untold Radio Network, where secrets come alive. New episodes daily, the mysteries thrive. Great guests, super chat, so I remember I share and subscribe. Join the side where truth can't hide. Aliens in the attic, UFOs in the sky. Cryptids lurking, oh my, oh my. Ghosts in the hallway, whispering your name. The paranormal, the unexplained. Become a VIP, get the inside scoop. Unlock the mysteries, be part of the group. Live streaming stories, they're talking to you. Super chats buzzing, join the crew. Untold Radio Network, where secrets come alive. New episodes daily, the mysteries thrive. Great guests, super chat, it's a wild member ride. Share and subscribe, join the side where truth can hide. So if you've got the guts and you want to explore, tune into the Untold, it's what you're looking for. From aliens to ghosts and all that's unseen. Untold Radio Network, where the world's mysteries convene.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Paranormal Spectrum. We are live here today on the Untold Radio Network. I am your host, Barnaby Jones. Today we have a great guest. Danny will be joining us in just a minute here to talk all about the world of tarot and other magical, mystical cards. So it's going to be a great show. Definitely looking forward to all of that. Guys, if you are wondering what my team has been up to lately, you're going to find out towards the end of the month. Here's what we've been looking at. There is a hayfield in southern Wisconsin that some consider the epicenter of the strangest and most disturbing phenomenon in Wisconsin. Strange UFO sightings, animal mutilations, orbs of light, and even the beast of Bray Road himself, the Dogman. Now, the team from Cryptids Anomalies and the Paranormal Society seeks to find answers. They are determined to discover the secret of Lee Hample's hayfield. Guys, this is exciting for us. We got the chance to go out there. It's been called the Wisconsin Skinwalker Ranch. It is high strangeness, very weird place. And you can go check out our YouTube channel and watch our first expedition out there. and we went out there last summer, and it's just as amazing. It did not disappoint, and you're going to get a chance to see that. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share to our YouTube channel so that you can check that out. If you want to see me in person, guys, I have several library presentations coming up yet. Coming up July 23rd, I'm going to be in Augustus Memorial Library in Augusta, Wisconsin. That is next Tuesday. And July 29th, I will be at the Shawano County Library. And then it goes on from there. All those events and locations you can find at our website, wisconsincaps.com. If you want to show your support for all things here at the Untold Radio Network, here's how.
Hey, Untold Radio Network fans. Want exclusive perks and to support our channel? Introducing our YouTube membership program with 3 amazing levels. Get loyalty badges that level up to different cryptids the longer you're a supporter. How cool is that? You'll also get access to custom Bigfoot emojis and priority in chat. Upgrade to Backstage Pass for exclusive wallpapers, photos, status updates, discounted books, and merchandise. Go all in with the producer level for everything mentioned plus member shoutouts. Ready for an enhanced experience? Join now, pick your membership level, and let's make this journey even more exciting together.
All right, guys, if you are like me, you have had some experiences with tarot cards and readings and maybe some other cards and things as well. But I'm not, 100% sure on all those things. And, I've only dabbled in them. So I'm looking forward to my guest today. He is Danny Loosemore, and he is the co-owner of Soul and Synergy LLC and Metapara Promotions. With his husband Terry. They promote psychic, paranormal, and wellness fairs across Wisconsin and Minnesota. With tarot as Danny's specialty, he teaches beginners and master tarot class, as well as provides tarot readings for clients at their fairs and expos. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Danny Loosemore. Welcome to the show.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Thank you for being here.
It's pretty awesome. I kind of like to talk about tarot a lot, so this is
Really?
a good venue for that.
Well, perfect. So let's start out with basically, I know, like I said in the beginning, there's more than one type of like oracle cards and tarot cards. So what's the difference?
Okay, well, with tarot cards, there's kind of the original. It's the Rider-Waite deck, and it's very how do I want to say it? Very upfront, different types of graphics on the cards, and really deep in meaning. But tarot cards come in every flavor, depending on what you like, from fairies to cartoon characters and Disney and all of that. And tarot really is a type of divination that really gets down to the nitty gritty of things. It's made up of 22 major arcana, 54, I believe, minor arcana, and it's split up into so many different ways that it explains the whole human condition from birth to death and everything in between. Where oracle decks are more of a theme to life. It's very much an overview. It's draw a card and get inspiration from it type of a thing. It's not necessarily meant for divination or anything like that, or at least that's my opinion. So when people ask me that question, what's the difference between the two? It's like oracle kind of gives you the theme, and then tarot gives you the all the details. So there's those. There's also other types of cards. They're called affirmation cards. We sell them here in the store. It's just a daily affirmation to kind of keep with you. Very positive in nature type of a thing. Then there are cards called tarot oracles, where they kind of combine both tarot and oracle together into one card. And it's kind of an interesting melding. But the number of cards in a tarot deck differs depending on the author. But as far as what the standard number of cards are, it's 78. So, but authors are able to do anything they want with them, I guess. So.
Very cool. Very cool. So you mentioned the Rider-Waite deck as being the original. So where did this whole thing come from? How did tarot get started, and what's the history of it?
Well, tarot started in the 15th century in Europe. I think it was primarily Italy, where it was called tarocchi, and that's where tarot comes from. It kind of went to France, and they started playing around with it. And it was originally a card game like Rummy or Pinochle or something like that. But then it was starting to be used more for divination. So like when I said in Italy was tarocchi, when it came to France, it became known as tarot. And then sometime in the 18th century in France, they developed the first deck just specifically for divination. I believe the person's name was John Baptiste Attila, like Attila the Hun kind of a thing, and published the first actual tarot deck for divination. It started to be used by fortune tellers and all that at that time. But a group called the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn kind of influenced modern tarot by bringing about the Rider-Waite deck. It was called the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. Along the way, other groups started grabbing onto the tarot decks and started divining from them. So that was really kind of the beginning of it all. And the deck became most popular in the, I guess you would call it the English-speaking countries, more so than the foreign countries.
So how did it transition from being like you said, it was like a card game to being used for divination? Where did that come from?
Well, the act of divining can be done with anything. You can grab stones and throw them onto a table, and depending on what they make you feel like or what you're getting from them, they start to kind of talk to you, I guess. But the same with card games. I'm sure people were playing the cards and then all of a sudden started noticing patterns and they were connecting it to various things and then developed a specific type of deck that really kind of mirrors the playing card deck, because in the playing card deck, you have 4 suits, and in tarot, you have 4 suits. You have ace through 10, and then the difference in tarot is that it has a page card, but in the regular playing card deck, you have jack through king, and the same kind of thing in tarot with knight, queen, and king. So it kind of really mirrors each other. So they were divining with the playing card deck and then decided, oh, let's make something specifically for this. So that's really kind of how it evolved, is people were using the playing cards as that tool, but they wanted something of their own.
Interesting. It's kind of like, you play Go Fish with the deck, and all of a sudden you keep getting dealt the same certain cards, and you start thinking what that means. I always get this card every time I play.
Right. That's exactly it. It's like they were noticing patterns and themes and synchronicities and whatnot, and then that individual decided, we're just going to create this tarot deck, and then it went from there.
Interesting. So obviously, we don't have to go through every single card in the deck and the meanings and all that stuff, because that's longer than an entire show. But
yeah, I teach that in 8 weeks, so that's that's way too long, way too short of a time period to explain all that. Yeah.
Oh darn. Okay. But so there's different, there's the 4 different arcanas, right?
There is a major arcana, and the major has 22 cards. And each of those 22 cards represent birth through death. We have the Fool, which is they call it the 0 card in tarot. That is the beginning of a journey. Whenever you're dealt the Fool, it means that there's something new coming up, or you're being naive. It really represents someone who basically graduated from high school and has absolutely no idea what to do, and they just kind of punt and figure themselves out from there. And then the cards through the major arcana transition to the various archetypes that we are throughout life, whether we're the father, the mother, we're the hermit, we're learning different things. We're the Hierophant, where we find our religion. We go through the Tower, which is destruction, when life falls apart. Then you have the sun and the moon, about the light and dark aspects of your life. And then it kind of transitions all the way to the end. Well, before we get to the end, we'll go there. When we get to the world, which is the last card, that's when you finally reach the top. And you can kind of think of that as the point at which, like, retiring, and you've done it all, and you're just kind of enjoying the fruits of your labor, type of a thing. So the major arcana is built to go across your whole timeline and pick out different things going on in that area. The minor arcana has the 4 suits, and the 4 suits are different depending on the author of the deck, because everybody kind of does a play off of the Rider-Waite as far as that goes. But in the traditional Rider-Waite deck, you have cups, pentacles, wands, and swords. So those are the four suits. And cups represents emotions in your life. Pentacles is material wealth or resources. Wands are the different actions we take, whether it's getting a new job or getting married, or the different decisions that we make throughout life. And then swords represent our intellect. It is the different parts of the mind, whether we have a clear, calm, peaceful type of thing going on, or our mind is racked with guilt or remorse or something like that. So it really talks more towards the intellect. And then that's the ace through 10 of the minor arcana. And then we have the court cards, which is page, knight, queens, and kings. And those represent personality traits. Like pages, of course, are like messengers. I guess the only thing I can think of is kind of an assistant kind of a thing. They're just there to learn what to do. They're really eager to help and all of that. Knights are, of course, protectors, that type of personality. Queens are the representation of the feminine side of things, and kings, the masculine side, whether it's the comfort and compassion of a queen or the authority or leadership of a king. That's really what that represents. So the 4 minor arcana, whether it's ace through 10 of any of them, they each have the same meaning, where aces are messages. And so an ace of cups means you need to deal with your emotion. An ace of pentacles would mean, hey, money's coming. Or the 2s would be duality, yin and yang kind of things going on in each of those 4 categories. So numerology also plays a role in tarot reading as well.
So basically you could get you'd be dealt one of the major arcanas, and that would signify like what part of your life we're talking about, and then the other cards would come in and tell you more specifically about certain aspects of that part of your life. Right.
So it kind of teases out all of the individual threads of what's going on in your world, where the major arcana is just the time period that you're going through right now.
Okay. So, and then again, it depends, obviously you're reading them in a certain way. So it depends if they're upside down or right side up, right? Is a different meaning for each of these cards?
Well, it depends, because each tarot reader is a little bit different. Like for myself, I don't read reverse, because I figure that if the meaning of the reverse card is supposed to show up, it'll show up in one of the other cards that are in the deck. But some people are tarot purists that they follow the instruction manual. They do the reverses. They have a very regimented way of doing tarot, and that kind of group is out there. I'm more of looking at the instruction manual once and throwing it away, because I divine from the pictures on the cards, and I get messages from from the images I see in the cards and the energy of the people around me. So that's kind of my group is more of the divining from the images of the cards. But you do have people who are very much, this is what this card means and all of that because the manual says so. So it just depends what line of thinking you're in.
So then there's different ways of laying them out, right? Like you have, depending on what type of answer you're looking for.
Yeah, they're called spreads. And the Celtic cross is the kind of traditional type of spread where 10 cards are laid out in a specific pattern, and each of the positions of those cards mean a certain thing that's going on in your life, whether it's past things that are affecting your today or future or the final outcome of the situation you're wondering about, what's crossing your path right now that's blocking your way. So different spreads kind of give you different pieces of information. There's a past, present, future, which is just a 3-card spread. Very easy to do. That's kind of one of the first ones you learn when you get into tarot. But after using spreads for a long period of time and doing tarot for a while, you start to do your own. And it's just intuitive where to put the cards and what to say and all of that. And I call that more of a free form type of a spread. For myself, I can go through the whole deck of tarot cards when I'm doing a reading. It just depends on how much information I'm getting and what I'm supposed to say. But I can go through half a deck or a whole deck. It just depends. Where people who are religious about the spreads just use the 10 or the 3 or the 7 cards and then they call it quits. But I figure, I'm getting paid pretty good to do a reading. I'm just going to give it all, and not going to limit it to something. So it's partly the message that has to come across or the experience you want to give someone. But you can use spreads, but I feel that they limit you to the information you can give.
Interesting. So you're kind of sensitive or a medium. You have abilities yourself?
Well, whenever I start doing tarot, I say, I'm not a psychic. I'm not a medium. I'm just looking at the cards and telling you how it makes me feel. So if you want to give it a category, maybe intuitive type of a thing. But I make no claims of having any kind of stuff like that. It's just more so me looking at the card that I'm putting down and feeling what it means, and then giving that to the client, and kind of going from there. So really how it works is I can go through an entire story that I'm telling this person, and I might think it means one thing, but they're receiving it in a completely different way. So as I'm going through a reading, I'm going, oh God, this person I'm sure got cheated on, and all that, as I'm kind of talking in my head as I'm doing the reading. And then after the reading's done, they're like, oh my God, that was spot on. My boss is really kind of hard on me, and I'm just trying to figure out if I'm going to stay at that job or not, and then they're kind of talking behind my back, and I'm like, okay, well, I had a completely different feeling about this one, but it all depends on what that person is hearing and connecting in their mind as to what message they receive. So, I'm just there to give them what the cards mean to me as I feel for them, but they're the ones that really put the story together in their mind as to what it means to them.
Interesting. So how do you think this works? Like I've seen like different ways of people like having the client or the customer come and shuffle their own deck and deal their own cards, or like you'll deal them and shuffle them, etc. So how do you think the whole situation works where the cards come to the order that they need to be for that person?
Well, if you want kind of my honest opinion, because the cards represent every facet of a person's life. I can lay a card down and give a meaning for it. And because it touches a part of everybody, they can pull meaning to it at that point in time. So if I lay down the Tower and I say, after you went through that period of rebuilding your life, you say rebuilding your life to 10 different people, they can all pick what that means to them. I'm not giving them any type of specific thing because, of course, I don't know how to do that. But I can give them the theme of things to look for and whatnot, and they can combine it in their own way to gather meaning from it that, like I said, I might think it might mean one thing, but they take their meaning home with them and make it work for them. So that's why it works for everybody, because it's really a psychological type of tool. And actually, Carl Jung, who is a psychologist, a famous psychologist, that was heavy into shadow work and metaphysical and whatnot. He had a lot of comments on tarot as it relates to being able to pull information from people's shadows that they don't want to deal with. And whenever you kind of give the keywords as you're giving a tarot reading, it automatically pulls in that person's mind the thing they don't want to think about. So it really kind of pulls forward all their issues that they need to deal with. And that's just part of the human psyche. So it's a psychological tool. It's a divination tool. But at the end of the day, what its sole purpose is to help you grab onto the things that are bothering you the most and make you deal with them.
That makes sense. If you're going to a reader like yourself to try and get answers to things that you don't want to deal with yourself, like I'm going through this problem, and all of a sudden you say, well, you need to deal with this problem.
Yeah.
It makes that person go, oh, okay, and kind of, like you said, take their own meaning out of it that fits them and confront those things. So.
And people use tarot for that kind of self-help type of a thing. People can use tarot for predicting or fortune telling as well. And it just depends on the reader and what their skill set is and whatnot in order to do those types of things. I have been actually quite accurate on some things that people have come back a year later and said, everything you said actually happened. But at the time you're doing the reading, you're just giving the message. So if I'm being inspired or if we're inspired by spirit in some way to say the things that we need to say during the tarot reading to the client, then that's a method for things to come through. But when I'm in front of the client, I'm just like, I'm just reading the cards, just letting you know what it makes me feel like, and hopefully it resonates with you in some way. Because you do have people that sit down in front of you, and I've had maybe one or two that are just stone-faced, and they have they're complete skeptics. They have no faith in it whatsoever. Their friend brought them there, and they're just kind of with their arms like this going, I really hate this stuff. And the friend buys them a tarot card reading. And then as you're going through, you can see that they're showing no emotion, no response to anything you're saying. And then when you get done, they just kind of sit there. And I've had them where all of a sudden they start crying, they start having these emotional bursts, kind of a thing. And it's solely because they feel seen. When someone is giving them their life story, they feel seen and validated, and it feels like someone knows how they feel about the things that have happened to them. So it creates kind of a connection where it's like, oh my God, you actually understand. Somebody understands what I just went through. And it can be very healing at the same time.
I can imagine. A lot of I listen to NPR a lot, and they talk about they have a chapter a day where they read to you, and they say, when's the last time that somebody's read you a story? People don't have that anymore when they're younger, and as you grow older. And I kind of associated that with what you're talking about here, because like people don't have those really deep one-on-one connections with very many people or at all in their life, and to be able to sit down and share that, and be skeptical of, well, you don't know nothing about me, and whatever, and all of a sudden, like you said, stuff starts coming out, and they're like, oh wow, and that's pretty cool.
It's really cool. I had a really great experience this past what day was it? This past weekend at Wisconsin Dells. And I had a woman that came to my table, and she was just kind of looking at at the different kind of decorations I had and whatnot. And she said, well, I just had a tarot reading from some person. They didn't give me what I wanted. So I said, why don't you just sit down? I'll read for you for free. You know, let's see if this, you know, because I'm one of the runners of the show. I want the people to have what they're looking for. So I'm going through the reading and all of that. And I get done and I look at her and she said, that's exactly what I needed to know. And I said, great, you know, it's great that you finally got that validation. And she was very happy with it. So some newer tarot readers feel like they have to get everything right. You know, they get nervous and all of that. You know, I want this person to think that I'm competent doing this kind of thing. So it really kind of limits their ability to grab on to some of the information. But when you've been doing it for a long time and you really don't care anymore, you know, you just say what you're supposed to say, and then you leave it to the person. And when you get to that point, people really feel like they've got their money's worth, I guess.
Awesome. Very cool. We need to take a really quick break here for station identification. If you have any questions about tarot or oracle cards or any kind of divination, put them in the comments, get them in all caps, and we will get to them right after the break. We'll be right back.
Show your support for the Untold Radio Network family of shows and join in on the conversation by using super stickers and super chats on YouTube. Got a question you want answered? Ask it live via a super chat and get real-time responses from our show's knowledgeable hosts and guests. Help keep the Untold Radio Network shows running strong. We need your support. Send your super chats and stickers now.
All right, we are back. Catherine says she loves Danny's energy. It's amazing.
Well, I try.
I think we kind of covered this. She says, when you throw cards, how does a card flip to upside down when all cards started out in a right side up, so to speak?
Do you mean like when you're shuffling the cards and then?
Yeah.
It all depends on how you shuffle them and whatnot. You can have them all facing the right way, and then as you start to shuffle, they end up upside down. But as I'm doing the readings and the cards are facing the person, you know, they might look upside down to me, but they're facing the person. Even if they come up upside down, I flip them around so that they're right side up for all of the people that I'm reading for. But as you're going through the process of shuffling, that's really what causes that to happen.
When I saw that in the comments, I thought she was talking about, you know, like how we had talked about where it's either a reverse or a right side up version of it. But I guess that's a little different. So.
Well, the way that works is like with the tower, for people who read reverse, the tower right side up means going through a period of destruction, of life falling apart and trying to put the pieces back together. And then upside down, that would mean that as things are falling apart, you're, how do I want to say it? You're not denying, but you're ignoring all the things you need to be paying attention to fix it. You know, so right side up is you're doing the positive action. Upside down is the negative action.
Well, that looks like the only question we have right now. But if anybody has any questions as we go, feel free to throw them in the comments and we'll get to them as soon as we can. So for those of you out there that don't know, you guys also own a store, correct?
Yeah, but we have a store in Eau Claire. It's on Menominee Street in Eau Claire. It's a full metaphysical store. We have crystals and showpieces, or stone showpieces, the taller, bigger ones that people put on their shelves. We have all of the various types of divination tools, tarot cards, oracle cards, the affirmations, kind of playing cards too, of every theme you could possibly think of. There are cards that deal with, how do I want to say it? Like angels and spirits and cats and dogs and dragons and everything like that. It's whatever calls to you to kind of pick up a deck. And then we also have jewelry and different types of herbs and more witchy stuff in one of our rooms. So just something for everybody. And then we also do classes and seminars and kind of special events in our classroom. because we have quite a large classroom with all the AV equipment in it for people to use. And for example, this weekend we have Patty Q, who has done a lot of our radio shows when we had our radio show. She's more of a spiritual medium, giving messages from beings and angels and such. She'll be here this weekend doing group healing sessions. So a group of people get together, and then she does a group healing with them and giving them all messages and whatnot to help them process whatever they came there with, type of a thing. So we're a one-stop shop for just about everything in town.
Very cool. Eau Claire, Wisconsin, right?
Yep, Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
Very cool. So I don't know how much you're up on it and stuff, but there was a movie, and I'm not sure if it came out yet or if it's coming out. I saw previews when I've been to the theater recently on tarot. And okay. And I know that when the Ouija movie came out, that there was a huge uptick in people interested in it and the legends and, you know, the lore and stuff around the talking boards and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering, have you seen an increase in sales of the tarot cards because of the movie? Like I said, I'm not sure if it's actually out yet or if it's sure it came out this summer. So
yeah, I'm not sure. I did see the previews to that, and I went, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But you know, but I know what you mean, and I don't know if we've necessarily seen an increase in purchases, but I know when we go to the shows and we bring all of our decks, I mean, they just go right off the shelves. But I don't know how. I'm not sure quite how old you are, but I'm of the age of the early 80s, 90s. And when they came out with the craft in the late 90s, everybody wanted to be a witch. And then Practical Magic came out, and everybody wanted to go out and do that stuff. So they were buying up all of the Bucklands, whatnot, of witchcraft and so on. When there was a Ouija board movie back in the day too. And then all of a sudden everybody had a Ouija board. So it does make sense that when they start to bring it out in Hollywood, then of course everybody wants to do it. And then it's just a passing fad for some people. But hopefully, especially with tarot, if people pick it up, if they really start to use it for their own benefit, it does make your life a lot easier, because as you pull up a card, it reminds you of something in your life that you've kind of not wanted to deal with. And then you have a card in front of you saying to deal with it. And of course, our human minds say, you know, we can ignore what we want to do, but if someone else tells us to do it, you know, we feel like we have to do it. That's what the cards do. And it's used for that shadow work. And it really helps a lot with that type of a thing.
Understandable. With this movie, though, the one of the themes, or the theme of the movie is basically they find this deck of cards up in the attic, and they're at this party, and they're like, oh, we're gonna use it, you know, and they say that you're not supposed to use someone else's deck. You're always supposed to buy a brand new one that, you know, like you said, calls to you, and use that. And what they did is they find this deck, and it basically, she goes around and predicts all the deaths of the people at the party. Yep. And then the creatures of that are portrayed on the cards come to life. And yep. I haven't seen the movie, but I gather all this from the previews of basically right. Come to life and track them down and kill these people in this house. But so anyway, my question of that is there any thoughts or lore and stuff behind the fact that you shouldn't use someone else's deck? Do you believe in any of that?
Well, actually, that's actually opposite of what the tradition is. The tradition is that the first tarot deck that you have has to be gifted to you. So if you want to start learning tarot and whatnot, and you have friends that do the same, you're actually not supposed to buy a deck. You're supposed to be gifted your first deck. And I get that question quite a bit in the store. You know, I want a tarot deck, but I heard that you have to receive it from someone first. And I'm like, no, just buy the dang thing. You know, tradition is just there to complicate things sometimes. But if we're talking about that type of thing, you're supposed to be gifted your first deck.
Is there anything about using someone else's deck though?
Yes, because the deck is personalized to that tarot reader's energy. So whatever it is they were using the deck for is kind of what the deck will do. So it just kind of depends. Like for myself, I have no problem with people touching the deck that I use. I use a deck called the Chrysalis deck, and it's the only one that I have that I use like 7 or 8 years now. And in my readings, I give the deck to people to shuffle and all of that, so that when they're shuffling, they're putting the cards in the order for me to read them. So they're really determining their own destiny or their own reading by the shuffling that they do. And I normally say, so if you shuffled them wrong and you get a bad reading, it's your fault, because they have their destiny in their own hands at that point. But I have no problem with anybody using my deck. It kind of likes to be shared, I guess you would say. But for some people, it's like, they get really uptight if someone even tries to touch it. So just depends on the person.
So my personal experience is I've actually picked up 2 decks of tarot cards from like thrift shops. And that was my first experience with them. And I just looked them up online and stuff. And I got okay results with them, but I was not really impressed. Yeah. And I went out and I bought my own deck and a book that came with it with instructions and stuff, what everything meant and everything that went with that deck. And it is completely night and day. Like I cannot tell you the difference between using the other 2 decks versus the one that I bought. It was just like the deck introduced itself to me, and it's like, hi, I'm here to help, and I'm like, oh, okay, and this is what you should do. And it was just a really weird experience to have that kind of attachment to it and feel that there actually was a difference between a used deck that was someone else's that kind of fought with me. And I guess I'll answer the question versus, hi, I'm yours. And I'm gonna do what you want and help you. So.
Right. No, if I ever came across, and I never go to thrift stores because Terry's a thrift store person, I just kind of sit in the car. But if I were to ever go in and find a tarot deck, that's the last thing I would touch.
Yeah.
Because people put a lot of their mojo into something, and it's like, do I want all of their crap kind of a thing? All the problems that they put into it for solutions, all the things type of a thing. So no, that'd be the last thing I'd ever pick up in a thrift store.
Yeah. And I will confess that was before I started doing caps and got into any of this stuff. I just like, oh man, it's a tarot deck, I'm going to buy these, and they sat on my shelf for years until I started getting more into this. And I'm like, I have a tarot deck, I'm going to go look at that thing. And bought it out, and I made sure it was all there. All the cards were there. So I'm like, all right, well, this is legit. We'll give it a try. And I was not impressed with that deck though. But.
Have you ever used your tarot deck on any of your hunts at all, or your expeditions?
No, we have not.
And using it to give you some direction, or even to get some inspiration about what's there, because it'll be whatever's there will be talking through you as you're going through the thing. So, it might be a tool to use.
Interesting. We have a question for you. It says, I did mean reverse. This is going back to that. So certain cards are placed in the deck in reverse position by the reader to land where it's supposed to before shuffling.
Yes. So it just, it all really seems to work out for some reason. And they all end up in the different positions that they do. Certain cards are placed in the deck in reverse position. Yes, so they kind of deal their own destiny at that point.
Interesting. So, have you ever used like rune stones?
Yeah, runes, and of course we have runes and stuff like that in the store. But I've used runes, and runes are very strict. That they have a certain meaning. You don't really deviate from that. It's kind of like throwing bones, but throwing bones is a completely different arena. But when you throw the runes, depending on which ones land face up or face down, and if you're using a grid and what places in the grid they land, and what aspects that definition means. Yeah, it's kind of a complicated, even a little bit more scientific, I guess you would say, or artistic in a way. There's a certain procedure you have to follow. Where in tarot there isn't, and I'm happy with that. But pendulums are also very good to really kind of tap in to see exactly what you're thinking and what you need to be doing. Let's see what else. Scrying mirrors are really kind of cool. We have a couple of them in the store. They're kind of polished black obsidian or onyx, where they've got a nice shine on it. And when you look into that darkness, images start to pop up, and it's kind of like watching a movie at a movie theater. So those types of things work as well. We did have here for quite a bit divination lab, where people came in with all the stuff that sat on their shelves that they never used, and they would come in and practice with it, whether it's divining rods or I Ching, which is a coin tossing type of divination. There's just something for everyone to use as a tool. I've even seen people use those rocks from a fish tank. They would pick up the rocks from the fish tank and throw it, and the pattern of the colors they would get images out of in order to give a reading. So
Interesting.
yeah, something for everyone.
So we kind of talked about having intuition or anything to do with this. So do people have to have an ability or an intuition or any of that stuff to be able to use tarot, or is it something that anybody can pick up?
Anybody can use a tarot deck, but it depends on what their intention is.
Mm-hmm.
So someone who's new, and it's some of the new students that I've had that have never touched a tarot deck before, and I've sat in front of them and I said, give me a reading. Never touched it before. And they lay out the cards, and of course they're fluttering with the instruction manual going, I don't know, and kind of doing that type of a thing. And I tell them, you read me exactly like you should have. And I give them my story as far as how everything fit with the cards they gave me. And then they just sit back and go, oh my God, I can do this. So it really doesn't necessarily mean anybody has to have any special gifts to use it, because everybody has gifts. They just don't know it. So if they try to do a reading, especially people who are naive to it and don't really fight it because they don't know if there's anything to fight with, the messages come through really quick because they don't know that they're actually doing it. It's when you actually know you're doing it that you get in your own way, and things get really kind of messy. But a new person using a tarot deck, I've had more accurate of a reading than someone that's done it for the last 10 years.
Interesting. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to get them in. We still got some time left here. But when you're teaching them, is there any kind of tips or tricks or anything that, helps people out?
Well, when I do teach the traditional meanings of the Rider Waite with each of the cards, because it's really good to have one or two bullet points of just kind of memorizing in your mind what they mean, because you can be going through a tarot reading and you're getting nothing with intuition. So just by knowing what it means, the mechanics of it can kind of get you through a reading without having to stumble. Because sometimes as you're going through the tarot story with the person, you kind of hit a dead spot. And it's like, okay, I got to know what this one actually means via the instruction manual. And then it kind of kicks back into the intuition coming through. So that's kind of one of the tips, is like you have to know kind of the base meaning for each of the cards, so that if you end up doing a reading and you start to stumble, you know exactly what it means for that client. So that's really one of the bigger tips that I give.
I have a comment here, and I'm wondering if you want to touch on this a little bit. It says, stay clear of spiritualism. You might end up inviting unwanted evil spirits. Do you think that, with channeling or anything, should you kind of, do you use it off your own beliefs or off the beliefs of the person you're channeling? Like, do you use a religious overtone to everything that you put out, or is it better to just give a neutral reading, do you think?
Oh, neutral. If I'm going through and something means something to do with someone's dogma or something like that, I always kind of say, because in my deck I have a card that represents guardian angels. So as I lay that down, I go, well, and then I stop and I say, however you believe them to be, but one of the labels is guardian angel. It might be a completely different name for you, but in essence, what this means is someone is wanting you to do something, but you're not doing it. And they've been telling you for a long time and giving you little hints, but you're just not getting around to it. So when I do a reading, I don't pull in anything I believe, and I don't make assumptions either about what they do. I just kind of say whatever resonates with you with this type of energy.
I think with like that card specifically, like guardian angels and stuff, I mean, that could mean, any kind of person that's looking out for you. Like,
Right.
Your mother, your father, or something is your guardian angel. So it doesn't
Right.
necessarily have to be a divine entity or something.
No.
It's all in, like you said, how you interpret it for yourself, not the person receiving it, how they interpret it versus how you're giving it.
And that's kind of why when I give the reading, I don't kind of say this is exactly the way it is or this is exactly what it means, going through with how I feel about it. I just lay it out there and I say, however it means to you, that's what matters.
So back with that same last the comment there about the evil spirits and stuff, we hear a lot of stories of Ouija boards being possessed by evil and stuff like that. Do you think with intent, you talked about people putting that energy into decks and stuff, do you think that these things can be haunted or possessed or anything like that? Is that something that somebody needs to worry about or be careful with?
The only things that can hurt you are the things you believe in. So if you don't have a belief that it can grab onto or hook onto, then it's not going to hurt you. I mean, that's why people who are completely agnostic to anything are the ones that never get anything that happens to them. If someone believes they can be possessed, they'll be possessed. If someone believes that, I don't know, in one thing or another, those are the types of things that can happen to them. But if you go into it going, I don't believe you can do anything to me, then nothing will happen. It's all based on your beliefs and what you resonate with. And it's even people who grab onto crystals. This crystal means love or this crystal means protection. Someone coming in that doesn't believe in that stuff grabs a stone. Of course, it's just a stone. But if someone comes in and grabs onto it and believes in it, the person with the belief and the one that doesn't, the one that believes gets the boyfriend or girlfriend, the one that doesn't is alone. So it just depends on your belief system and what you allow in. So really, it's kind of a good thing to tell yourself, I don't believe in anything anybody else believes. So I'm protected from that.
Very well said. Very well said. That goes, obviously with the intent. If you're putting out that energy that, if you don't believe that something can possess you, that is just as strong of a shield as anything, because you're putting your own energy of, well, I cannot be possessed.
Right.
For whatever reason, it's just not going to happen. Mm-hmm. And that is putting that intent out and will protect you because it's what you honestly believe. So whether you believe that God is protecting you or some other deity or, just, a crystal, as you said, it's going to help you because that's what your belief is. Mm-hmm.
That's why people who don't believe in ghosts never see any, or don't believe in any of that stuff because they are at a frequency that those things can't touch. Mm-hmm. But you got to be careful because when you start believing, your mind opens up and it's like it starts believing everything because it doesn't know what the truth is until you tell it what your truth is. I have no channel, so I can't channel. I can't be possessed, and you got to set up those rules.
That's like people say, I've never had experiences my whole life, and all of a sudden I saw something, and now I have more experiences.
Right.
You see a Bigfoot, and then all of a sudden now you're seeing UFOs, you're seeing paranormal, and why is this all happening to me? Well, because your whole paradigm has shifted,
Yep.
and now you're going, well, if that exists, oh my gosh, now you can see all this stuff because you're at that level, you're at that frequency.
Right. Exactly.
So is there any questions that you do not ask during a tarot reading?
Oh, I don't know. I've been asked so many different things. One of the things that I do tell people is like, I'm not going to tell you you were Cleopatra in a previous life, or that you're going to die tomorrow. Especially with the death card in tarot, because it can be interpreted in so many different ways. I'm not going to say, you're going to die in 6 months or what have you. I have a friend who's a medium psychic, and she has no problem telling people when they're going to die, but not me. No. So there's some topics that if I were to be asked those questions, I would say no. I'm not going to be able to tell that because I don't want the responsibility of changing someone's path based on what I say. Because as soon as I'm done with a reading, they can decide to turn left instead of right, and then everything I said is just gone. Because the future is that malleable. It's that changeable, where if you get a feeling about what to do and you do the opposite, then everything is up in the air again. So I don't think there's a question that someone can't ask, but it depends on the tarot reader whether or not they're willing to answer it.
Have you ever had, and I don't want to get too personal and stuff with any of your readings and that, but have you ever had a situation where you've given a reading and like worried about the outcome? Like where if somebody doesn't like the reading and they make choices to like harm themselves or something because of it, do you ever have like situations where if that's come up, and is that something that you worry about when you're giving this information?
Well, as I'm doing the reading and it looks as though someone is having kind of like the mental health type of response to something, I always refer them to a counselor, a medical professional. It's not like as I'm doing the reading, I purposefully weave stuff in there like that. But if I'm noticing that as the reading's going through and the comments that they might be making might be ending up in that way, a reading is not medical in any way or anything like that. So just like any type of other prudent person, they would say, you need to go get some help. You need to go see a counselor or talk to your primary to get some assistance here. And I have said that a few times as I was going through a reading, and hopefully they did. But I often say, this isn't therapy. This is me giving you a reading, you getting some information from it because you're pulling your own life into the reading to help you out. If this knocks something loose that you can't handle, then you need to go and talk to a professional, because that's not me.
And unfortunately, that's all you can do. There's been paranormal cases and stuff where people have had issues like that, and you can point them in all the right directions, but in the end, it's up to them to make the life changing choices to take care of that.
Yeah, I if someone even goes down that road, it's like, I'm not a counselor, I'm not a licensed professional. If I can give you information about what the cards mean, and if that doesn't, if that somehow brings something up in a way that's bad, then you need to seek professional help from that. I'm not the person to tell you what to do.
Absolutely. Is there anything that you can think of that we haven't covered? Any advice that you have for anybody with these things? And actually, we have one more question. Think about that. And we have one more question here. How do you cleanse the cards?
For me, when I'm doing a reading, it's just part of, I guess you call it a ritual. When the person sits down, I shuffle the cards in a certain way, and then it's ready for them to do the reading. But when they give me the cards back and I'm done with the reading, I then shuffle the cards in a certain way that to me means they're being cleaned. That's based on what I believe, and that's because as I'm doing that shuffle after the reading's over, that to me means it's clean. And then I set the cards off to the side and then I'm done. So, I don't necessarily do what they do in the casinos and go like this or anything like that after I'm done with the cards. But I just set them off to the side and call it good.
Is there any kind of thing that people should do when they first get it? Like leave them out in the moonlight or sage them, or is there anything that you recommend for that?
There's a bunch of funny things that people say to do, and I'm just like, why do you believe that? It's more so just using them every day and getting to know them. And if you feel like they need to get to know you, that can happen too. To me, they're just cards, but to some people, they're friends. So I've had some people sleep with them under their pillow. I've had some people carry them around with them all over the place, like you would a crystal, I guess you would say. But in the end, it's just whatever that person feels like they should do. I just leave mine on the shelf and neglect them. I mean, that's fine by me. I'll use you when I need you.
Perfect. Okay, so is there anything else, any other thing that we didn't cover? Because obviously you know this stuff better than I do. Is there anything else that we didn't cover that we need to? And any other advice that you want to throw out there for anything with tarot or tarot readings?
I guess the only thing that comes to mind is don't go to a tarot reader every week for a reading, because you need time for things to happen. Mm-hmm. And don't rely on tarot cards to rule your life. There are some people who get so obsessive compulsive about that type of a thing. And it's like, no, you're letting an object determine your destiny. So I tell people who come for a reading, when they say how often should they come, and I'm like, give it at least 3 months, because you may be in a completely different mindset. You may have decided to get a new job. You might get married, that type of a thing. I don't want to be the reason why you went in a certain direction. I want to be the reason why you thought about it, so that's really one of the things I could think of, is that don't use it to rule your life. Use it as a guide.
That's very good advice. Very good. All right. Well, unless we have any other questions over here, you, as we said, you and Terry run the Metapara Pro Motions. I'm used to calling it Metapara Pro.
Metapara Promotions. Yes.
It threw me off.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read it as a full word. So you got that going on. You go all over Wisconsin, all over Minnesota. Where you guys got events coming up? Where should people check it out? And where are you?
I'm going to look up at my calendar. We have Hayward, Wisconsin. We will be at the Seven Winds Casino on the 27th of July from 10 to 5. We have currently about 38 people or 38 vendors. We are looking for a couple more because we have a bigger space. So we're really looking forward to that event, as one of our staff members works there. So it's kind of a nice thing there. And August 7th, we'll be in Duluth doing a fair. Over August 22nd through the 25th, we will be at the Michigan Paracon as a vendor. So we'll be at the Kewadin Casino at that time. It's right on my birthday, so I'm going to be spending my birthday at a Paracon. But then after that, it's on Alaska on September 21st, and our calendar keeps filling with more shows. And you can always take a look at our show list at metaparapro.com.
Very good. And I have the link to that and Soul and Synergy in the show notes for anybody that's interested. You can go click on that and check out all the awesome events and your store. And do you do online readings as well, or just in person?
During COVID, I did online readings, but I even had like an online Facebook Live thing where I was just reading for people in the audience. But that didn't really feel right to me. The in-person readings feel like more my style. So I don't really do online readings at all. Maybe for some friends over Facebook chat or whatever, but not for like regular clients. No.
Okay. So all in person.
All in person, yeah.
Very cool. Do you do them at the store too, or just at events?
Oh, I do them at the store. Yep. I do them after hours or during lunchtime or something like that if someone were to come through. It's really quite interesting because you quite never know what's going to walk through the door, and it'll be like a slow day, and then it'll be about maybe 4:00, and then 3 people will come in for a tarot reading. So it's just, you never quite know what you're going to get. But yeah, we do them in the classroom area.
Well, Catherine says, thank you so much for a clear understanding of tarot and the other tools. She learned very much. Another one says, great information. Thank you very much as well. And really good show. So thank you so much. A lot of good comments and questions. And I think we got them all. But if I missed one, I apologize. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate your time. And
thank you for the invite. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So I look forward to, for those of you who don't know, I've spoken at your events before, and they're very well done, very well put on, very professional, amazing vendors, just amazing group of people you have with you. I've met a lot of very, very good people there.
Yeah, and we're very proud of it. Thank you.
I think you have something very awesome there, and I always look forward to working at your events when I can. And unfortunately, they always just fall on something else I got going on. Yeah. But I definitely will be back to your events, and I look forward to it, and promoting your stuff here as well. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Absolutely. You take care, man.
You too.
All right, guys, that is our show for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Head on over to metaparapro.com and check out all of their events and stuff that's coming up and that. And maybe you'll see me at one of their events coming up. Also, go check out their store and everything that they got going on. They have events, I don't know, almost every weekend or so. So they're all over Minnesota and Wisconsin. So always something fun and interesting and unique at their events. So check that out. Coming up, guys, on Monday, we have Mel Shakan is going to be on the show talking all things Bigfoot on Monday on Monsters on the Edge. And coming up next week here on the Paranormal Spectrum, my guest had to... she is rescheduled for next week. She was supposed to be on a while ago. Nancy Thames is coming on. She is a former Department of Defense employee, and she has had some experiences with UFOs and UAPs, and she is going to be here to share her stories with us and all things from the United States Department of Defense. So that is going to be a really, really fun, interesting interview as well. So guys, make sure that you like and subscribe and share here on the Untold Radio Network so that you don't miss it. Make sure you click that little subscribe and bell button on wherever your chosen platform is so that you can come back and enjoy that show. So until next time, guys, I want to remind everyone we are all part of the Paranormal Spectrum. And take care. I will see you next week, guys.
You seem to know something I don't. What's going on?